Hello everyone, this is going to be week 11 picks. Sorry again that it comes out on a Thursday. Hopefully it'll be out before the Thursday night game, but if not, yet again, sorry that's a little late, and hope you enjoy it. And starting off week 11 will be Marcus Mariota. Now Marcus Mariota has had some pretty nice games lately, obviously last week upsetting the New England Patriots. It was a pretty ugly game, I thought, from the Patriots. In that game, he had 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in the last 2 weeks, he's had 468 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think he will continue his little run right, playing against a pretty weak Colts defense. I think the weapons for Marcus Mariota are getting better, especially if Jonnu Smith, the tight end, keeps on playing pretty well. I do not think Jonnu Smith is a fantasy option, but for Marcus Mariota, an NFL option, he's been playing pretty well lately, and I really do think Marcus Mariota could do really well this week. Next up is going to be Lamar Jackson. Now, this could be Lamar Jackson's first NFL career start. Joe Flacco got hurt 2 weeks ago. They had their bye week last week, and this week they're saying that he's still hurt. Now, if Lamar Jackson plays, which I assume he does, but he didn't practice today or yesterday. But if he does play, I think it could just be in a very exciting game. Now, will he play well? I don't know. He's playing against the Bengals defense, which isn't an amazing defense, but Lamar Jackson is more of just an exciting player. I would love to watch this game. I mean, he's such a playmaker with his running ability, and then he also can make some big-time throws. Obviously, he has some pretty nice targets around him, and John Brown, Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead. And the tight ends are actually coming along pretty well with Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews. I don't know if you want to play him. I guess if you're in a big need of quarterback, then it's not a bad option, but honestly, I just think that I suggest that you watch it if he does start, because I think it'll be a very exciting game. Next up is going to be Josh Adams. Now, Josh Adams has actually been playing pretty decent lately. He had 42 yards off of 7 attempts last week, and 2 weeks ago he had 61 yards off of 9 attempts. So what that shows is pretty much he's not getting too many targets or opportunities, but when he does get the opportunity, he is doing pretty well with it. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry, I'm pretty sure, in those 2 games. He does not have a touchdown, but they are playing against the Saints this week. I think that should be a very offensive game, offensive-based game. I think that's going to be very high scoring. I don't know how much they'll run it, but I think it should be a pretty good game for the Eagles all around. I do like Josh Adams. I would say he's like a low-end flex, but if you're in need of a flex or the bye is hurting you this week, I think Josh Adams is definitely worth a start this week. Next up is going to be Jaylen Samuels. Now, Jaylen Samuels hasn't really played that much this year, with James Conner having an MVP-worthy season so far. So he hasn't really needed to do much so far this year. And Le'Veon Bell, obviously, we know he's not coming back for the rest of the year after missing the season and $14 million. If you'd like to see a video on me trying to analyze what his decision was there, please comment or like this video. But back to Jaylen Samuels. James Conner did get hurt last week for I think it was a quarter or two. And if that's a long-term injury, I do think Jaylen Samuels is definitely worth the ad. Maybe not to start this week as they're playing at Jacksonville. So it's a very tough defense, not away game. I don't know how that'll go. But if James Conner's injury is long-term, I do think he's worth the ad. Not the start, but for a long-term ad, pretty nice. And after Jaylen Samuels will be Anthony Miller. So Anthony Miller went absolutely off last week with 5 catches, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and an average of 24.4 yards per touch. Now that is pretty awesome stats. He's had 10 catches in the last 2 games. He's getting the more and more opportunities as the weeks go on, and the Bears are getting better and better. Mitch Trubisky is playing really well. He's been playing really well lately. Now this week will be a pretty hard test for him and the Bears going up against the Vikings Sunday Night Football. That should be a pretty good game. I would say the Bears win because of their defense, but I do not know how well their offense will do against a pretty good defense in the Vikings. I do think Anthony Miller's a pretty solid wide receiver too and a very good flex. And I do think Anthony Miller is worth the start this week. And next up is the future Hall of Famer Larry Fitzgerald. Now, Larry Fitzgerald is having a pretty amazing year so far, breaking records, going up in the catches and receiving yards and NFL careers. Definitely a Hall of Famer. But he's actually been playing pretty well lately for a pretty old guy. Out of the 9 games that he's played, I think, he's had 4 or more catches. And going up against the Raiders this week, he's definitely, I'd say, a PPR steal. He's probably owned in a league, so this is more of like a FanDuel, DraftKings PPR, or like a very small league type of thing. But Larry Fitzgerald is not a bad option. He's yet again playing against a pretty weak defense in the Raiders. The Cardinals are getting better, sort of, not really. But they're having to rely on him a lot more lately, and I do think that he will do good this week. Next up is Danny Amendola. Now, I do know that the Dolphins are on bye this week. I'm not making that Jeff Herman mistake like last week. Sorry about my door. But I do know that this week. I just do think that Danny Amendola is worth that. Albert Wilson and Devontae Parker are on IR, so he is the number 1 receiver. And last week, he had 7 catches off of 10 targets for 72 yards. So he is definitely worth the ad. He will be getting all the targets. Tannehill will be coming back, I hope. And I do think he is worth the future ad. Next up is, yet again, Josh Reynolds. So I do know that Josh Reynolds has been on this channel for probably 3 or 4 times, and I don't know what it is, but he just keeps on finding a way to get on this list. But this will probably be the final time. So, yeah, sorry about that. But this week, I think, is a great week for Josh Reynolds. Why? Cooper Kupp is out for the season with a torn ACL, I'm pretty sure. Big injury for the Rams. The Rams are one of the highest scoring teams in the league, playing against a high-powered offense yet in the Chiefs this week. So I think it's a great matchup for the Rams on a great team. He's the 3rd receiver on their team. I think he'll get a lot of opportunities, and I think he even could score a touchdown in a high-scoring game. I definitely think Josh Reynolds is a solid flex start this week. Next up is going to be Josh Doctson. Now, Josh Doctson has pretty much had a bust of a career so far. He's just hasn't really been able to live up to the hype so far. But this week, I think he's definitely worth the ad, playing against a pretty weak secondary-wise defense in the Texans. And the last 2 weeks, he's having some opportunities. Last 2 weeks, he's had 7 catches, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think the biggest thing is definitely those touchdowns. Having 2 straight touchdowns in 2 weeks is pretty nice. Playing against another weak defense, I think he's definitely can score another touchdown. I think the Redskins are a good enough offense to be able to score touchdowns against the Texans, and I do like Josh Doctson this week. But only as like a flex. I think he's definitely a solid flex this week. And next up is Jeff Herman again. So I know I did show him last week and talked about him, and I really did think he was worth the ad, but I think this week, if he's still available in your league, I think he's still worth the ad. So obviously I said these last week, but I'll say it again, 2 weeks ago actually now, he had 10 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. I think the biggest thing is the 10 catches. He is getting a ton of opportunities now that Demaryius Thomas is out. They are playing against the Chargers this week, so that's a pretty tough defense. But I mean, if you're getting that much opportunities, I don't think it really matters. So he's definitely getting yet again the opportunities, and with Demaryius Thomas out, I think he becomes the red zone target, and I think he can definitely will be a number one, or I think he's a top 5 tight end this week. That's my bold statement. Next up is going to be Cairo Santos. So I know you see Chandler Catanzaro right now, but the Bucks did release him inside Cairo Santos, who actually played pretty well with the Rams. I think he played 2 games and played very well. He's been a good kicker for a pretty long time now, and the Buccaneers are actually a pretty high scoring team. Yes, I know there's a lot of question marks with their offense, especially at quarterback, but so far they've been a pretty high scoring team playing against the Giants this week, so that should be a super high scoring team since those are 2 of the worst defenses in the league. And as long as he can hit the field goals, I think Cairo Santos and Rosas of the Giants should do pretty well. I choose Santos over Rosas though this week. A travesty has happened. The Bills are on bye. Yes, this is a terrible, terrible sequence to happen, as I was literally choosing the defenses that were playing against the Bills because they are so bad. So, not only does Nathan Peterman, the best friend of defenses, gets cut, the Bills are also on bye now, so we can't pick the defenses against the Bills. So I decided to choose the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going against Jacksonville, they're not a great offense. I think the Steelers' defense has actually been a pretty underrated defense. TJ Watt will maybe become a Pro Bowler. By the way, the Pro Bowl I'll be talking about a little later. And I do think the Steelers should be a good matchup this week. Bortles is pretty nice to defenses, I'd say. He doesn't exactly go off. I'd be a little worried if Fournette plays, but if not, I do think the Steelers' defense is a good option. Even if he does, though, I think they're still pretty good options. This is just a little reminder. Please do vote for the Pro Bowl. This is not like an ad or anything like that. I just want to hear you guys. You can comment who you voted for or players that you want other people to vote. I can give you my video of the people that I pick for the Pro Bowl. If you want to see that, you can comment or like this video. And please vote. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Yet again, sorry that it is a little late and very close to game time, if not past it or during it. I don't think I chose any players from the game, so lucky you guys, you didn't miss anything. And hope you guys enjoyed it. Yet again, thank you. Bye.